Hi, my name's Tom Burton. Music causes physical changes. This picture that I'm showing you is of heart tissue cells, and the difference in the intricacy of the patterns and the shapes has been caused by sound waves uh, at various frequencies, various amplitudes. This is what sound can do to cells inside your heart. It's according to an article from Stanford Medicine Magazine in 2018 by Hannah Armitage. I'm going to tell you about a musician, Warren Haynes, who has changed my life to make me a better person, father, and husband. Physically changed my life. I'm going to explain to you a few reasons why I think that music changes us physically and mentally. Then I'm going to go through his body of work, solo and with bands, explain his social consciousness and how he has affected the industry, and how those things have physically affected me. Now, at its very essence, according to Tam Hunter, in a 2022 article, All is Vibration, everything in the universe is vibrating. And we know this to be true with physics and science, that even molecules and atoms vibrate. Inanimate objects like rocks vibrate. Rocks or crystals like quartz vibrate at specific frequencies. And mankind has learned how to harness that. Um, the organization I'm referencing is the International Quartz Devices. It's a business who, since 1973, has sold devices using quartz at different frequencies based solely on the thickness of the cuts, the angle of the cuts, how thin the material is, and what temperature it operates at. Um, the study of how sound waves affect physical objects is called cymatics. It's a branch of science. And according to Jacob Adlington in his Journal of Curiosity in 2025, I found a quote that describes it as well as anything I could find. Cymatics is the study of sound and vibration made visible, typically on the surface of a plate, a diaphragm, or a membrane. Now, the earliest cymatic experiments were um, uh, sand particles on very thin metal plates, and as you hit a different pitch, the sand particles would organize themselves into a unique pattern, and then at a different pitch, it would change. Um, and music physically affects everything that it hits and connects. Our bodies are comprised of 60% water. Our hearts and our brains are comprised of 70% water. This is according to Water Science School in 2019. And a good example of this is what piano notes can do to a bowl of water. A man named Simon Crome wrote an article in 2021 and demonstrated this. And you can see again that, simply by changing the pitch or the note of a piano, this is what it does to a bowl of water, these intricate, detailed patterns that are as unique as snowflakes. Now, uh, uh, our bodies are comprised of water. So when sound hits our bodies, I feel that it does exactly the same thing. Um, a USC report, USC study uh, reports that only about half of humans experience music such that it gives you physical sensations like chills. This is Ruben Westmus writing for the Discovery Channel in 2019. Um, but because of what we just looked at, how music affects water, we're all comprised of water. I believe that we are all constructed to receive it. Some of us may be pre tuned better than others, and others may have to work to develop it. But clearly, musical vibrations contacting bodies triggers a physical effect of some sort. Okay, now, because of this, I believe music has been intertwined with religion since mankind's existence because of the way that it makes you feel. Right, and this is according to Sound Infusion in 2020. A gentleman named Reza Moeni, writing for a cultural infusion blog, and he got down into the minutia of sound infusion. Um, and I thought, as I said before, that because I've had hair-raising experiences in church, that everyone could feel this, but evidently um, only about half of humans actually feel that. But if you imagine the phrase gospel music, that immediately brings to mind uh, uh, mental images of people being physically affected by music. And so consequently, a lot of people equate that feeling as a spiritual experience. So now that we've established that music physically affects the way that you feel, and physically and psychologically, I'd like to tell you about the music and musician that has personally affected me the most. Now, I work at it. I go to a lot of shows and I buy a lot of merchandise. I believe that Warren Haynes is the most prolific, underrated, underappreciated singer-songwriter in America who actively writes and performs socially conscious songs. His professional career began in 1980 when he was 20 years old. He worked for a country singer named David Allan Coe for about 4 years. Then in 1987, he joined the Dickie Betts Band. In between, um, he was doing some songwriting, and uh, his current webpage discography has 124 albums on it, and his new solo one is not on it. That's according to Warren Haynes' webpage 2025. During his initial period, when he was doing the songwriting and working for Dickie Betts, he had a hit with a country and western singer, Garth Brooks. The song was called Two of a Kind Working for a Full House. And this gave Warren Haynes a measure of financial freedom that most young musicians don't have. um, uh, because of his association with Dickie Betts, he was asked to join the Allman Brothers, and he did, and played with the Allman Brothers from 1989 until 1997. He then rejoined them in the year 2000 and was with them until the year 2014. Um, uh, Being one of the two guitar players in the Allman Brothers for that period of time, he also co-authored many of the songs that you're familiar with and heard. The Allman Brothers released 12 albums during the time that he was with them. Now, from 1994 to 2025, present, Warren Haynes has fronted his own band, my favorite band, called Government Mule. They have released 24 albums. Since Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead passed away in 1995, Warren Haynes has played with all of the surviving members of the Dead, notably Phil Lesh, who was the bass player in many of the Phil and Friends incarnations. The Dead reformed in the years of 2004 and 2008 to tour for Obama and support his presidential campaign. 4 years after that, from 2012 to 2016, Warren Haynes was asked to go around the country and do symphonic performances, the Jerry Garcia Symphonic Performance Celebration. This is according to the Best Classic Bands in 2016. And I was fortunate enough to see one of those shows with the Boston Pops, and they're just beautiful. They were done to support the Jerry Garcia Foundation and all of his family and friends. Now, from 1993, continuing to present, he just released another one. Warren Haynes has released 8 solo albums. His Live from Bonnaroo album in 2004 familiarized him with a much younger crowd and the jam band scene in general. He has guested and played with on dozens of albums and welcomed hundreds of guests on stage to play with him. The lineup is staggering. The names include Eric Clapton, Dolly Parton, Peter Frampton, Dave Matthews, Ann Wilson Hart, Toots Hibbert. He made an album with John Scofield, who was Miles Davis' guitar player. Um, Warren Haynes, as well as playing lots of Jerry Garcia's music, has written a beautiful song called Patchwork Quilt about Jerry, and he adopted many of Jerry Garcia's philosophies around music, feeling that music is universal, that music should be free, and that music is a collective endeavor wherein the audience is fully half of the equation. Um, uh, because of this, Warren always writes thoughtful, meaningful lyrics um, uh, that the listener can interpret in their own fashion, apply meaning to their own life or situation. Politics and rooting for the underdog are two recurrent themes in Warren Haynes' songwriting. He makes a point not to repeat a set list from show to show, specifically catering to fans who've seen him before. Improvisation in his live performances is a necessity for Warren Haynes, right? So that even after 20 plus years of following and seeing him in hundreds of shows, I know that the next one's going to be different. I routinely tell my son, we're going to see the best Warren Haynes show of our life next time. Besides all of this, helping other people and fostering a sense of community and harmony have always been integral parts of Warren Haynes' ethos. At the same time, he's not averse to a revolution if it's necessary. This combination of caring and strength are a couple of the qualities I admire and try to emulate. Beginning in 1988 and continuing till today, Warren Haynes has held an annual concert for Habitat for Humanity in his hometown of Asheville, North Carolina. He's built dozens of homes. He's raised millions of dollars. This, according to writing by Ariane Kajelquist for the Asheville Habitat for Humanity in 2023. Most recently, after the devastating hurricane that hit the southeastern United States last year, he organized a benefit concert at Madison Square Garden with the Dave Matthews Band, and it was titled Soul Shine. You can go to his website, it's still up there. You can still make donations. To this date, that one show has raised $4.5 million. But Warren, he's done more than that. He's released a series of albums called the Benefit Concerts that raises continuously money for these humanitarian causes. Um, uh, Love Rocks is an annual show in New York City. Love Rocks New York City. Warren has participated 7 or 8 times, I believe. The Bridge School is a music school that has an annual famous benefit. Warren's lends his name and his guitars to that. In any charitable cause that asks, I got a feeling that Warren Haynes would participate in. And this ethos actually predated him in the Allman Brothers. The Allman Brothers had actually toured for President Jimmy Carter's candidacies. Warren Haynes, as I mentioned, toured with the Dead to support Obama in 2004 and 2008. But despite all of this and writing lyrics with meaning, lifelong fans were shocked when he spoke out against Trump and released Revolution Come, Revolution Go, an album in 2017. They actually began recording that album on the day of Trump's first inauguration. He's discussed his songwriting in many interviews. He writes lyrics that mean something to him, and he hopes that they'll mean something to others so the listener can co-opt it into their life. He leaves the message deliberately obtuse on a song called "Peace I Need." Uh, on the band's most recent, on Government Mule's most recent album, Peace Like a River, and it was a companion to Revolution Come Revolution Go. It was released only in 2023. They've been very prolific, releasing lots of music. He sings the lyric, quote, "Listen to me, I won't steer you wrong. Heed my words. There's much more here than a song," unquote. Uh, I think he's singing that to us. Now, on his new solo album, just released, A Million Voices Whisper, there are messages full of hope for the future while acknowledging the dangerous place that our society currently is in. Government Mule's first blues album, released in 2022, it was nominated for a Grammy for the best traditional blues album. But even that carried messages for the listener. My wife and I, back in 2004, decided to take our children, quote, to see the Hippies at a Dead concert. We just wanted to get them some cultural exposure outside of Bar Harbor, Maine, and the Dead was touring, as I'd mentioned, in 2004. So we drove down to Massachusetts. My 14-year-old son drugged me down to the stage before the show to watch a guy sitting on a folding metal chair. It was Warren Haynes. He was playing an acoustic guitar with a really small amp. There were only about 30 of us gathered around, and he played 9 songs from his Live for Bonnaroo album. And from that point forward, Tommy was enamored with Warren Haynes. A couple of years later, he got his driver's license and inherited my 1996 Ford Bronco that also had my complete CD collection in it. At that point, his musical education was vastly expanded. 21 years later, we still go to live shows, a lot of them. It's an emphasis in our lives, and I have a bond with my son that I can't talk about without getting emotional about. I don't know anyone else that has, what I have. Warren Haynes is married. He and his wife adopted a son about 12 years ago. He writes and sings songs about fatherhood and being a husband and a partner, for good and bad. And I listen to that, and I take parts of those songs and apply them to my life. Now, as you can probably tell, I may be the biggest fanboy of Warren Haynes and Government Mule. And I readily acknowledge that I place a lot more emphasis on music in my life than most people do. The amount of time and money combined with my age, I'm 65 years old, has caused me to reflect on it. And I've come to this general observation that for me, life is experiential, and collecting memories with my son, with my family. We all love music, and feeling it has physically changed who I am and how I live my life. Now, I believe that music can make your life better too. Not necessarily Warren Haynes as the artist, but if you pay attention to how music affects your body, then you can use lyrics if you want to, or just a beautiful melody. I really don't think that it matters, but one way or another, music can make you feel. And I believe that that's what life is about: feeling and vibration. Thanks very much.